Let's see. Tier list A says Prot Warrior is shit. Tier list B says go blood or bust. Prot is bad, Prot is shit tier. Yosa bananas. Wait, what? Listen, Prot Warrior is super fun. A lot of the talents changed and got nerfed. I get that. Is it enough to make the spec bad? Not by a long shot. There are several builds you can play with a bunch of revenge changes to make it an actual DPS ability, some nerfs here and there, but overall a good choice to main or alt. But don't let that convince you. You just yet stay tuned and watch what's up with Prot, man. Before we go, you need to watch our Twitch. Yeah, hell yeah, twitch.tv/MarcelianOnline, where we stream 5 days a week, doing dungeons and stuff with specs and class and stuff, together with you, the viewer, and stuff. You know, following stuff. Let's hit it! Whirlwind is baseline. It's very bad. Very bad. What Whirlwind does, Revenge does way better, and really, Whirlwind is just fantasy and flavor. It's fine, put it on your bars, and keep in mind that its AoE is hard capped, as opposed to Revenge, which should be used instead. It's now cheaper, doesn't activate as often for the free charges, but does a buttload more damage, especially more than Thunderclap. Thunderclap is still a good rage generator, which is why its damage has gone down. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for a spender to hit less than a generator. There is a build where you can get the BFA playstyle of clapping to your heart's content though. That's good. One of the most impactful baseline changes came to Charge. You now have Charge and Intervene separate, each with one charge and each usable on enemies and allies respectively, and not a combination of both. With the baseline changes to Intervene, it can actually act as an ally cooldown to take some decent heat away. When you intervene a friend, you intercept all melee and range attacks for 6 seconds as long as you stay within 10 yards of each other. Pretty good. Hamstring is back as well as an on-demand slow per target. Not as great for Prot, Warrior and PvE, but it is there. You could find uses when you need to kite individual mobs, but that would be situational and unlikely on a combat to combat basis. Shattering Throw, the old reliable, is back as well. It's a big cooldown where you throw your weapon, dealing 500% more damage if the target hit has a shield on, and breaks said shield as long as it's a magical immunity like Ice Block and Divine Shield. Normal absorbs will just take a truckload of damage. Necrotic Wake's last boss has this, and other mobs here and there as well, so you know. It's not going to be something you use a lot, but that's fine, not everything has to be a part of your base rotation. Challenging Shout is also back as a 4-minute AoE taunt. In a world where abilities are capped in AoE, an AoE taunt can save your group whose cleave spreads to targets you are not yet cleaving properly. Revenge and Thunderclap deal reduced damage when fighting more than 5 targets, as opposed to their damage stopping at 5 targets, so you can still build threats to extra targets, but not as much. A not so obvious but pretty important change is to ignore Pain, where now the absorb will cap at 2 times the baseline value, so you can stack it a bit more than in BFA, where it was just at 1.3 times the normal value. Hit the Kyrians with a Spear of Bastion! Even after the recent nerf, it could still be the sickest shit Warrior gets in this expansion. You throw a spear down with a 1-minute cooldown that generates 25 rage and deals damage. And it links the mob's hit to it so they cannot move away from the spear for as long as it lasts. 4 seconds, that's how long it lasts. Not only is this AoE damage, it generates rage on demand and lets you kite as an extra utility tool. Main issue with this is that it does not align with other smaller cooldowns that you have for some DPS synergy. The Necrolords for Maldraxxus give you Conqueror's Banner. You place it down and create a small AoE that buffs you with 20% HP and 10% crit chance as you stay in it. When you spend rage and kill enemies, you gain stacks of glory that last for 30 seconds, giving you 1% crit damage up to 30% total. This performs the weakest right now, but can become a powerhouse in the late game with a lot more crit chance. The ability is still fairly restrictive, but not too bad. Moving to the Night Fae, you will get Ancient Aftershock. It's an ability which changed since its inception. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown ground slam. Deals decent damage on up to 5 targets and generates rage while knocking them down every 3 seconds. The effect forms a bit of a pattern on the ground, and its effects only work on up to 5 mobs, if they are within its area of effect. Lasts for 12 seconds and generates 15 rage per target over those 12 seconds. The effects seem to favor Mythic Plus a lot, clearly. Lastly, the Venthyr will bring Condemn. This is the best single target damaging ability, with a disclaimer. It replaces Execute and can also be used on targets above 80% HP. It provides you with a small absorb time mechanic where the ability prevents the next X amount of damage the target would do to you. The downside is that it costs rage to use in a world where you would spend that rage on active mitigation. So choosing between Condemned and Shield Block will be where your decision-making process will be put to the test. The first row changed. Instead of Into the Fray, you now have War Machine. Auto attacks generate more rage and killing enemies grant you a move speed buff and 10 rage. The issues with this are the same as for the DPS counterpart. Outside of world content, you won't be getting full uptime and consistency from this as you would from the other options on the row. Punish received the buff where subsequent stacks of the debuff will overlap, making it way stronger in single target. They will not refresh however, so a high haste build might be needed to make this top tier. And seeing as how Prot favors high haste builds anyway, this might be one of the raid options you can get. Devastator also replaced Impending Victory on the first row. The second row has changed completely. Since the charge and intercept system changed, you get double time as a talent now, where you get 1 extra use of charge and its overall cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. Rumbling Earth and Stormbolt both moved down here as well. Best Served Cold has also changed, where Revenge does 20% more damage or 50% if you cast it as a free rage proc. This actually makes Revenge into a powerhouse in AoE, which establishes the purpose of this talent row, that of making it an AoE DPS row. Booming Voice also has been buffed, most likely to counteract the multiple other nerfs. It still generates 40 rage, but now the damage dealt to targets affected by Demo Shout is increased by 20% instead of 15%. Every little bit counts. Dragon Roar also buffed, or at least changed. It now generates 20 rage, and if it crits, it deals 3 times the normal damage instead of 2 times. It no longer slows, but the extra rage gain is more than enough to compensate. With enough crit, this will hit like a wild party's next day hangover. Next row has Crackling Thunder that adds a 10% move speed slow to Thunderclap on top of the increased radius. A much better choice for AoE scenarios in dungeons, that's for sure. Bounding Stride is also here, unchanged, while Menace seems to be way better. This time it will make your Intimidating Shout knock back all but your main target, and all of them will cower in fear for 15 seconds instead of running away. The 15 seconds increase from 4 seconds is a major change if you can use it. 15 seconds gives you enough time to drop dots, get healed back, get some shield blocks ready, etc. Never Surrender moved up a row to basically still only make Ignore Pain bigger by up to 100% based on missing health. Still lackluster, not to mention that the other options are just way better. Indomitable will increase your max HP by 10% and heal you for 1% max HP for every 10 rage you consume. This is big. This is probably the biggest change yet. The sustain levels are real after such a long time where Prot was the only tank that did not have a self-sustain mechanic outside Victory Rush and its buff talent. Think about it this way, every cast of Shield Block heals you for 3% of your max HP, while Ignore Pain heals for 4%. The more rage you can generate, the more you can heal. Simple. Impending Victory, speaking of, has been buffed as well to heal you for 10% more max HP. It's a decent heal, better than Never Surrender, but still inferior to Indomitable unless you can reset it consistently. Consistently, that is the word. Into the Fray made its way here with the big nerf where now it offers 2% haste for each ally and enemy around you for a max of 10% haste, down from 15%. It's still a decent amount of haste nonetheless. Unstoppable Force is the same, only moved up to this row, while Ravager changed a lot. It no longer gives you a parry chance, but instead it's on a 45-second cooldown with 10 rage generated every time it deals damage. On top of that, it will now slowly but surely chase its targets, just like a Red Paladin. Hey! Anger Management will be the biggest nerf you got in Shadowlands. It will now only reduce the cooldown of Shield Wall and Avatar. These are still good cooldowns, but the loss in power from its BFA counterpart is very apparent. Heavy Repercussions has changed as well, and now Shield Slam will generate 3 rage instead of doing more damage, but still extends the duration of Shield Block. The rage generation is somehow better in my opinion, since that can be translated into Shield Blocks, or Ignore Pains, or Healing with Indomitable, or even damage once it works its way up to a Revenge. Bolster moved here as well. It almost does the same thing, except that now the game sees the shield block mechanic as the actual shield block skill buff you get separately, in that it will increase the damage Shield Slam does that and benefit from any and all interactions you would have had with the actual shield block ability. Pretty nifty. Warrior has some of the better generic legendaries, but we still will focus on the Prot specific ones, with one exception. Misshapen Mirror makes spell reflection last 200% longer and apply to your entire party. This is legit. It's undeniably good to reflect party-wide AoE bolts of magic or similar things. Not only does it do the damage back, but offers a good defensive boost, and if the spells cannot be reflected, you and your party get 20% magic damage reduction that lasts for 200% more. I have a sinking feeling that it will be nerfed. However, even unnerfed, it might not be the best legendary for you. And that's not because of reprisal. Don't get me wrong, intercepting attacks is helpful, and getting a free Ignore Pain and a Revenge after that is pretty good, but the contenders, man oh man. Thunderlord is ironically the best one out there, arguably anyway. It brings back the BFA playstyle of Thunderclap, reducing the cooldown of Demo Shot by 3 seconds for every enemy hit. This, with the newly buffed booming voice, brings back the Clapaton, the Clapmaster, the Thunderclapsalization, you know what I mean. Yeah. If you're a Maverick though, you can opt for Unbreakable Will. When you press Shield Wall, 50% of its effectiveness applies to all party members. This can have very situational uses, where the damage reduction you offer will make the difference between failing a key or getting a raid wipe, although it's only party-wide, the buff that is. Shield Wall is a big cooldown, and even with anger management, the overall value is lackluster. The wall makes Shield Slam generate 2 additional rage and reduce the remaining cooldown of Shield Wall by 4 seconds. Couple this with all of the cooldown reduction mechanics, and you could end up having Shield Wall for every big moment that needs to be smoothed out. The extra rage isn't bad either. Soulbinds can be a pretty underestimated system and potentially more impactful than the Covenant abilities, at least if you are unlocking the proper conduits with the right Soulbind. And since you cannot have all the best things from everything, choosing the right Soulbind is not straightforward. Take Pelagos for instance. You can get the 2 potentially most powerful traits he has in Let Go of the Past, for some versatility buffs which you can easily maintain as a warrior, and Combat Meditation for the mastery buff, cause critically blocking is cool. And you can essentially choose any conduit combinations to unlock based on the other traits. And if you really want to go Maldraxxus, the banner ability can easily be complemented by Hymir's Arsenal Marrowed Gemstone. Did I say that right this time? Once you crit 10 times, you get 20% crit chance for 20 seconds. Match this with the banner and boom! Instant synergy for some cray-cray DPS and high parry chances. No? Well, if you don't like the skeleton bonesmith, maybe you'll go for the fairy dreamweaver from the Night Fae, because social butterfly is an awesome one for tanks with the versatility buff jumping left and right, and you know there's a high chance other party members will be Night Fae as well, and if you all get this trait, it's versatility bonanza for everyone. Or maybe you are the cool type to go Venthyr. Nadia might be pretty good for Prot Warrior. Daunting Duelist increases your damage by 4% against the first target engaged in a combat, and more importantly, Thrill Seeker buffs you with 20% haste, which for Prot Warrior is a godsend. The benefits with Into the Fray nerfed and overall less haste at the beginning of the expansion cannot be overestimated. And once you have your Soulbinds, to the conduits we go! Tanks have 2 spec-specific conduits for the potency class, which is offensive power, and 2 endurance, which is defensive cooldowns. For the potency, unnerving focus will make Last Stand increase the rage generation by 30%. You can use this in multiple ways. If you take Bolster, that extra rage can go into Ignore Pains, or simply massive damage output with Revenge. If not, that rage should be enough to maintain a high uptime on active mitigation. Show of Force makes Revenge increase the damage of your next Thunderclap by 20%. This seems like it could work well with the clap build, and yeah, it's more damage, but the damage increases only apply if you use Revenge before a Thunderclap. So it's okay-ish at least. It could output damage, sure, but will you sacrifice shield block uptime for it? As for endurance conduits, Iron Maiden seems to be pretty cool, where Revenge has a chance to refund a charge of shield block. The proc chance is really small actually, but it does get bigger and bigger with more ranks, and shield block uptime is crucial for your performance. Brutal Vitality makes 6% of the damage you deal add to your active Ignore Pain. This is not bad, but it's still all numbers, and all numbers base seems to be the kind of option that works well with a lot of gear where your Ignore Pain isn't just going to be consumed in 1 or 2 globals. Prot seems to be pretty good right now, and I know the perception is that it's low from a tier list perspective. Tuning isn't done, and outside numbers, the playstyle is super fun, and what's more important, builds and variety, people! Having options in the talent section is major. It's so fun to change your playstyle with a legendary and the new talent setup. I gotta say, I'm excited. And as far as low to mid-range content difficulty goes, Prot felt, for me, one of the strongest tanks that relied the least on legendaries and outside systems. Legendaries still boost the power though, so don't dismiss them, and all of these are our opinions. Check the Skyhole Discord community for more in-depth info about it, and also Mwahi's Icy Veins article where the man approaches the spec from a more advanced point of view. And thank you to our patrons who are supporting our content, our platforms, this, our Twitch, and everything that we do. We couldn't do it without you guys. And if you, dear viewer, want to support us a little bit more, it's not required but highly appreciated. You can check the link down below to our Patreon page. There are a couple of goodies there, and also our merch link, because from our merch link you can buy these kind of shirts. Pretty cool, huh? They're actually hand-drawn, designed by Marcelian in a graffiti style manner, so it's pretty dope, pretty dope. Thank you for watching the video, stay awesome, and we'll see you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.